The discovery and dismissal. Commander Elena Reyes stood motionless at the viewport of the research vessel Horizon, her dark eyes fixed on the strange object suspended in space before them. After 15 years in deep space exploration, she thought she had seen everything. She was wrong. "What do you make of it, Dr. Chen?" she asked, not turning from the view. Dr. Marcus Chen floated to her side, his tablet displaying constantly changing readings. At 42, the astrophysicist's once black hair was streaked with premature gray, the result of too many sleepless nights spent studying the mysteries of the universe. "It defies everything we know about physics," he replied, his voice barely above a whisper. "The energy signature is unlike anything in our databases. It's almost like it exists partially in another dimension." The object, if it could be called that, was roughly cylindrical, approximately 300 meters long. Its surface shimmered with an iridescent quality that made it difficult to focus on directly. Patterns of light rippled across it in sequences that seemed almost deliberate, like a language written in luminescence. "Are we recording everything?" Reyes asked. "Every instrument we have is trained on it," Chen confirmed, though half of them are giving readings that make no sense. The Horizon had been charting the edges of the Cygnus arm when their long-range scanners detected the anomaly. What was supposed to be a routine survey mission had turned into potentially the most significant discovery in human history. Lieutenant Commander Javier Ortiz, the ship's executive officer, approached from the bridge. "Commander, we're receiving a transmission. Unknown origin, but it seems to be coming from Sector 12. Reyes frowned. "There's nothing in Sector 12. It's empty space." "Not anymore," Ortiz said, gesturing to the holographic display behind them. "We've got a vessel approaching. Design unknown." The crew watched as the hologram displayed a ship unlike any human craft. It moved with an elegant grace that suggested advanced propulsion systems far beyond Earth technology. Its hull was composed of overlapping hexagonal plates that seemed to shift and realign as it traveled. "First contact," Chen breathed, his eyes wide. "Just when we thought this day couldn't get more historic." Reyes straightened her uniform. "Open a channel and broadcast the first contact protocol messages. All frequencies, all formats." Within minutes, the alien vessel had positioned itself 2,000 kilometers from the horizon, close enough to communicate, yet maintaining a respectful distance. "Commander," the communications officer called out, "we're receiving a response." It's in English." Reyes raised an eyebrow. "Put it through." The view screen flickered to life, revealing a humanoid figure with pale blue skin and large almond-shaped eyes. Its features were delicate, almost fragile-looking, with no visible hair and 6 digits on each hand. "Greetings, explorers from Earth," the alien said, its mouth movements not quite syncing with the words. "I am Ambassador Zilith of the Exaveri Conclave. We have been monitoring your approach to the boundary artifact." Reyes stepped forward. "Commander Elena Reyes of the Earth Alliance research vessel Horizon. We mean no harm and seek peaceful exchange of knowledge." The alien's expression remained serene, but Reyes detected a subtle tension in its posture. "Your intentions are not in question, Commander. It is your actions that concern us. The object you have discovered is not for study or interaction. It is a seal, a barrier that must remain undisturbed." Dr. Chen moved closer to the screen. "A seal to what, Ambassador?" "To that which should remain separated from our reality," Zilith replied. "The artifact is one of 7 constructed by the Ancient Ones over 1,000,000 of your years ago. They contain a breach between dimensions." Reyes and Chen exchanged glances. "Ambassador," Reyes said carefully, "we've detected unusual energy patterns emanating from the artifact. Our scientists believe it may represent a significant power source." The alien's large eyes blinked slowly. "It is not a power source, Commander. It is a prison. The energy you detect is merely the echo of what lies beyond. 17 civilizations before yours have discovered the artifacts. 12 attempted to harness their power. None of those 12 exist anymore. A chill ran down Reyes's spine, but she maintained her professional demeanor. "We appreciate your warning, Ambassador. We'll need to confer with our government before making any decisions." "Of course," Xylith nodded. "But know this, the HFY will prevent any attempt to breach the seal. This is not a threat, but a promise of protection, for you as much as for us." After the transmission ended, Reyes called an emergency meeting with her senior staff in the ship's conference room. The holographic display at the center of the table showed rotating images of both the artifact and the HFY vessel. "They're lying," stated Admiral Harrison Walsh from the Earth Alliance headquarters, his image projected from a transmission that had taken 8 hours to reach them. "Our analysts believe this is a classic case of technological gatekeeping." Reyes frowned. "With respect, Admiral, the HFY seem genuinely concerned. If there's even a small chance they're telling the truth." "Commander," Walsh interrupted, "Earth is facing an energy crisis that threatens to plunge us back into the resource wars of the 2130s. If this artifact represents the power source our scientists believe it might be, it could solve our problems for generations to come." Dr. Chen cleared his throat. "Admiral, my team has been analyzing the artifact for 48 hours now. There are aspects of its energy signature that are troubling. It's emitting patterns that resemble quantum distortions, the kind theorized to appear at the boundaries between different dimensional planes." Admiral Walsh's expression hardened. "Doctor, are you saying you believe these aliens' fairy tales about dimensional prisons?" "I'm saying the data supports the possibility that the artifact is indeed some kind of containment mechanism," Chen replied firmly, "and that tampering with it could have unforeseen consequences." "Your concerns are noted," Walsh said dismissively, "but the Security Council has made its decision. A specialized team is being dispatched aboard the battlecruiser Intrepid. They'll arrive in 6 days with equipment to begin a careful extraction of the artifact." Reyes felt her stomach tighten. "Admiral, I strongly recommend we pursue diplomatic relations with the HFY before taking any action. They clearly have knowledge about the artifact that we don't." "The HFY have been invited to share that knowledge," Walsh replied. "Their ambassador has been silent since our request for technical specifications. That silence speaks volumes, Commander." After the transmission ended, Reyes found Dr. Chen in the science lab, surrounded by holographic displays of the artifact's energy patterns. "Tell me the truth, Marcus," she said quietly. "How bad could this be?" Chen manipulated the display to show a simulation. "These patterns here, they're similar to what theoretical physicists call membrane oscillations. If the multiverse theory is correct, and this is indeed a boundary between dimensions." He hesitated. "Elena, we could be talking about an extinction-level event if the seal fails, and our chances of convincing the military-industrial complex to walk away from a potential unlimited energy source are about the same as finding another Earth-like planet in the next star system," Chen said grimly. The next 5 days passed in mounting tension. The HFY vessel remained stationed near the artifact, neither approaching nor communicating further. Additional Earth Alliance ships arrived, taking up positions that effectively surrounded both the alien ship and the artifact. On the 6th day, the Intrepid arrived, a massive warship dwarfing the horizon. It carried a team of scientists and engineers specifically selected for the artifact retrieval mission, led by the renowned Dr. Eliza Ward, whose reputation for brilliant innovation was matched only by her ambition. "Commander Reyes," Ward greeted as she stepped aboard the Horizon for the mission briefing. "I've read your reports. Very thorough, very cautious." She said the last word as if it were a mild character flaw. Caution seems appropriate when dealing with unknown alien technology and explicit warnings from an advanced civilization, Reyes replied evenly. Ward smiled, the expression not reaching her eyes. "Warnings without evidence are just threats, Commander. The HFY have provided no proof of their claims, while our scans show energy potential that could power Earth's colonies for centuries." The meeting proceeded with Ward outlining the extraction plan. Special energy dampening fields would be deployed around the artifact before a series of focused tractor beams would carefully move it into a containment chamber aboard the Intrepid. Dr. Chen, who had been silent throughout the presentation, finally spoke. Dr. Ward, our latest scans show increased instability in the artifact's quantum field. Any attempt to move it could trigger a cascade reaction. Ward's smile tightened. We've accounted for field fluctuations, Dr. Chen. Our dampeners can handle up to 300% of the currently observed levels. And if they exceed that, then we abort and reassess, Ward replied smoothly, though something in her tone suggested aborting was not in her vocabulary. As the meeting concluded, Admiral Walsh's hologram appeared once more. We've received a transmission from the HFY government. They're threatening consequences if we proceed. Empty threats, Ward said dismissively. Nevertheless, Walsh continued, the Intrepid will maintain battle readiness during the operation. Commander Rise, your ship will withdraw to a safe distance. Sir, Rise protested, the Horizon has the most comprehensive scanning equipment. We should remain to monitor. That's an order, Commander. Your position is now officially noted as opposing this mission. You've covered yourself bureaucratically. Now follow your orders. The next morning, as the Horizon prepared to withdraw to the designated safe zone, Dr. Chen rushed onto the bridge. Commander, the artifact's energy signature has changed. It's responding to the Intrepid's approach. On the view screen, the cylindrical object's surface patterns had accelerated, the lights pulsing in rapid sequences. Warn the Intrepid, Rise ordered, but before her communications officer could act, a brilliant beam of light shot from the artifact to the HFY vessel. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the alien ship began to transform, its hexagonal plates shifting and reconfiguring until it had nearly doubled in size. New structures emerged from its hull. Not weapons, but what appeared to be massive energy collectors. They're trying to stabilize it, Chen realized. The artifact is reacting to the Intrepid's approach as a threat. Rays opened a channel to the warship. Intrepid, fall back immediately. The artifact is destabilizing. We're proceeding as planned, Horizon, came the clipped response from Captain Richards, the Intrepid's commanding officer. Our readings show acceptable parameters. Your readings are wrong, Chen shouted. The quantum field is collapsing. On the screen, the Intrepid deployed its dampening field generators, the shimmering energy net extending toward the artifact. The moment the field touched the artifact's surface, a blinding flash erupted, and a shockwave of energy pulsed outward. The Horizon's systems flickered as the wave passed through them. When the screens came back online, the view was transformed. Where the artifact had been, a swirling vortex of darkness now gaped, its edges crackling with energies that hurt the eyes to look upon. And emerging from this tear in reality came a massive shape, angular and dark, its surface covered in geometric patterns that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. It was clearly a vessel of some kind, but unlike anything built by human or HFY hands. What have we done? Rise whispered as alarms blared throughout the ship. The gigantic vessel, easily 10 times the size of the Intrepid, hung motionless before the vortex, as if surveying the scene. Then, in perfect English, a message boomed across all communication channels. The seal is broken. The guardian hands. Judgment comes. The reckoning and redemption. The massive Guardian vessel hung motionless against the backdrop of stars, its impossible geometry seeming to fold space around it. The tear in reality pulsed behind it, tendrils of darkness reaching outward like grasping fingers. All systems are operational again, Lieutenant Commander Ortiz reported, his voice steady despite the chaos unfolding before them. But the Intrepid. Commander Rice focused the view screen on the Earth Alliance battlecruiser. The massive ship drifted listlessly, its running lights flickering. The energy wave from the artifact had overloaded its systems. Open a channel, she ordered. After several attempts, Captain Richards' face appeared on screen, illuminated only by emergency lighting. Horizon, he rasped, We've lost main power and propulsion. Casualty reports coming in. Dr. Ward is. He glanced off screen, his expression grim. Dr. Ward didn't survive the surge. Reyes felt a pang of regret despite her disagreements with the woman. What's your status, Captain? Life support is on backup power. Weapons are offline. We're dead in the water, Commander. Before Reyes could respond, the communications officer called out, Commander, the HFY vessel is hailing us. Ambassador Zilith's face appeared on a split screen beside Richard's. The alien's usual composure was gone, replaced by visible distress. You have done the unthinkable, Zilith said, voice trembling. You have awakened a guardian. Now we must all face the consequences. What exactly is that thing? Reyes demanded. A warship created by the Ancient Ones to guard the dimensional boundaries and execute judgment upon those who breach them, Zilith explained. There are historical records of their awakening, but none who witnessed it survived to provide details. Dr. Chen stepped forward. Ambassador, the breach is still open. Is there any way to seal it again? Zilith's large eyes blinked slowly. The Guardians were programmed to repair breaches, but first they evaluate those responsible. If deemed irredeemable, they eliminate the threat before repairing the seal. And if deemed redeemable? Reyes asked. Unknown. It has never occurred in recorded history. The Guardian ship suddenly began to move, gliding silently toward the Intrepid. From its hull, a beam of purple light extended, enveloping the crippled Earth vessel. It's scanning us, Captain Richards reported, his image breaking up. Every system on the ship is being accessed simultaneously. It's in our computers, The transmission cut off abruptly. The Intrepid's life support signatures are still active. Ortiz confirmed after a tense moment. Whatever it's doing, it hasn't harmed the crew yet. The Guardian shifted its attention, the scanning beam now extending toward the horizon. Reyes felt a tingling sensation as the light washed over the ship, as if every atom of her body was being cataloged. The ship's computer systems activated independently, screens flickering to life with symbols none of them recognized. Dr. Chen stared at them, transfixed. These patterns, he murmured, they matched the sequences we observed on the artifact. It's a language, the language of the Ancient Ones. As if in response to his words, the symbols rearranged themselves, transforming into English text. Analysis complete. Species, human. Technological development, Phase 3. Threat assessment. Significant. Intentionalisize. Intentionalisize IV. Additional data required. The beam withdrew, and the massive ship turned its attention to the HFY vessel. After a brief scan, new text appeared. Species, HFY. Technological development, Phase 4. Threat assessment. Moderate. Intent analysis. Protective. Data correlation complete. The Guardian ship moved again, positioning itself directly before the dimensional tear. A deep, resonant tone filled the communication channels, not quite sound, but something felt in the bones. Judgment protocol initid. All vessels will maintain position. Dr. Chen worked frantically at his console. Commander, I'm detecting massive energy buildups within the Guardian ship. If it decides we're a threat and attacks, we need to communicate with it, Reyes decided. If it's an artificial intelligence, maybe we can reason with it. How? Ortiz asked. It's scanning our systems, not accepting transmissions. Chen's fingers flew across the interface. Maybe we can use its own language. The patterns we recorded from the artifact. If I can encode our message using the same symbolic structure. Reyes nodded. Do it. Tell it we didn't understand the nature of the artifact, that we meant no harm. As Chen worked, the tear in space began to widen. Through it, Shadowy forms could now be seen moving, shapes that hurt the human mind to comprehend. "Commander," Ortiz said quietly, "we're receiving transmissions from Earth. Admiral Walsh is demanding updates. The Security Council is in emergency session." "Tell them the truth," Reyes said grimly. "We ignored warnings about a technology we didn't understand, and now we face a potentially hostile entity with the power to tear holes in reality." Ambassador Zillith's ship moved closer to the horizon. "Commander Reyes, our sensors indicate the breach is expanding exponentially. Within hours, it will be beyond the Guardian's ability to seal." "What comes through if that happens?" Reyes asked. "We call them the Void Eaters," Zillith replied, a tremor in their voice. "Entities that consume matter, energy, even consciousness itself. They do not invade. They devour." Chen looked up from his work. "I've adapted our communication protocols to mimic the Guardian's symbolic language. We can transmit now, but I have no idea if it will respond." "Send it," Reyes ordered. The message went out, a complex sequence of energy pulses modeled after the Guardian's own communications. For long minutes, there was no response. Then suddenly, the massive ship rotated toward the horizon. "Communication attempt reorganized. Purpose: explanation/supplication. Analyzing sincerity." A new beam, different from the scanning light, connected the Guardian to the horizon. Within seconds, every piece of data in the ship's computer, logs, personal records, mission parameters, even the private journals of crew members, was being examined. "It's looking for the truth," Chen realized. "It wants to know if we genuinely didn't understand the danger." Reyes felt exposed, vulnerable, knowing that every decision she had made was being scrutinized by an alien intelligence with the power to destroy them all. But she had nothing to hide. She had opposed the mission from the start. After what seemed like an eternity, the beam retracted. "Analysis complete. Internal coanephilicity within human hierarchy. DETCTED. Subject Elena Ruiz. Reorganized. As opposing to REHH attemptee. Subject MARCUSCHEN. Reorganized. As providing accurate risk assessment." Another beam shot out, this time connecting to the Intrepid. After several minutes, it withdrew. "Human authority figures determined to AVDISTMAZCDWARNINGs favor resource acquisition. Pater and Machichi's historical extinction. EVENTs." Reyes's heart sank. It was judging them, just as Zillith had warned, and finding humanity wanting. "We need to prove we can learn from our mistakes," she murmured, then addressed the Guardian directly. "We acknowledge our error. We request the opportunity to assist in repairing the damage we've caused." There was a long pause before new text appeared. "QRECEDNT for REDMPTION. DUI's NOTEX exist in database. However, ANOMALYDETCTED. Subjects Raways and CHEN. Demonstrated FORESID. H and CAUTION. Despite AHIERRCJY. XEVARI ATEMPTD POREVNTION. Despite technological disadvantage. Judgment suspended. PNDLING for their evaluation. The Guardian ship moved closer to the dimensional tier, which had grown large enough to allow glimpses of what lurked beyond. A writhing darkness, filled with shapes that seemed to shift between multiple states of being simultaneously. Breach critical. Containment pirotosuolas insufficient. Additional energy required. What does it need? Reyes asked. Chen studied the readings. The Guardian's trying to close the breach, but it doesn't have enough power. The original seal was created by multiple Guardians working in concert. Ambassador Zilith's voice came through the comm. Commander Rise, my ship carries an experimental fusion reactor. We could offer its output to supplement the Guardian's power. The Intrepid has a quantum singularity drive, Captain Richards added, his transmission restored. If we could channel its energy. It wouldn't be enough, Chen said, calculations racing across his screen. Not unless. Commander, the Horizon's antimatter containment system. If we converted our entire reserve to pure energy in a controlled reaction, Rise understood immediately. We'd lose our ability to return home. But the combined energy of all three ships might be enough. Chen finished. Rise didn't hesitate. Begin the preparations. Lieutenant Commander Ortiz, coordinate with the Intrepid and the HFY vessel. We need perfect synchronization. For the next 2 hours, the crews of the three ships worked frantically to modify their power systems. The dimensional tear continued to widen, the entities beyond becoming more distinct, more horrifyingly real. From Earth came panicked messages as the situation was finally understood. Admiral Walsh himself transmitted an apology and authorization for whatever measures Reyes deemed necessary. Modifications complete, Chen reported finally. But there's a problem. Someone needs to remain aboard to manually modulate the energy flow. The computer can't handle the complex adjustments required. Reyes nodded. I'll do it. Evacuate the rest of the crew to the Intrepid's emergency shuttles. Elena. No. Chen protested. I should be the one. I understand the energy patterns better than anyone. Which is why you need to coordinate from the HFY ship, she replied firmly. This is my command, my responsibility. Before Chen could argue further, the Guardian ship emitted a pulse that shook all three vessels. Void intil his APPROACHANG breach, THRES. Time remaining. 18 minutes. The evacuation proceeded with grim efficiency. Soon, only Rise remained aboard the Horizon, her fingers dancing across the antimatter containment controls as Chen guided her from the HFY vessel. Energy synchronization in 3 minutes. Chen's voice came through her earpiece. Elena, it's been an honor. Rise allowed herself a small smile. The honor's been mine, Marcus. As the final seconds counted down, she watched the Guardian ship position itself directly before the breach, its structure seeming to unfold in impossible ways, revealing a core of pure, blinding light. Ready, came Captain Richards' voice. Ready, echoed Ambassador Zilith. Ready, Rise confirmed, her finger hovering over the final command. Now, Chen called. Rise activated the sequence. The Horizon's antimatter reserves began a controlled annihilation, channeling pure energy directly to the Guardian ship. Simultaneously, the Intrepid's quantum singularity drive and the HFY's fusion reactor poured their power into the ancient vessel. The Guardian absorbed the combined energy, its form growing even brighter until it was painful to look at even through the viewscreen's filters. Then, in one massive surge, it directed the energy into the dimensional tear. The breach contracted violently, the shadowy entities beyond shrieking in frequencies that made Rise's teeth vibrate. She focused on her task, manually adjusting the antimatter flow as the ship shuddered around her. Warning lights flashed as the Horizon's structural integrity began to fail. The temperature on the bridge rose rapidly as systems overloaded. It's working. Chen shouted through the static. The breach is closing. Rise watched as the tear shrank, the Guardian ship pouring impossible amounts of energy into it. The entities beyond thrashed in apparent fury as their passage was denied. With a final, soundless implosion, the dimensional tear sealed itself. Where it had been, a small cylindrical object now floated, a new artifact, a new seal. The Guardian ship, its mission completed, turned toward the Horizon. A final message appeared. Judigimentreviced. Redemptive action, recognized. Sacrifice, noted. Dimensional seal restored. Guardian, returning to dormant sea. As the massive ship began to fold in on itself, becoming smaller, more compact, a beam of light shot from it to the horizon. Rise found herself enveloped in the same purple glow that had scanned them earlier. "Marcus," she whispered, "something's happening." When the light faded, Rise found herself standing on the bridge of the HFY vessel, surrounded by shocked aliens and her own wide-eyed science officer. "How?" Chen began. On the view screen, they watched as the horizon imploded, its antimatter containment failing completely. The Guardian ship, now reduced to a fraction of its former size, moved to the position once occupied by the original artifact, its surface hardening and taking on the same iridescent quality. It had become the new seal. "It saved you," Chen said in wonder. "It judged you worthy." 6 months later, representatives from Earth and the HFY Conclave gathered on a neutral space station to sign the Dimensional Accord, a treaty establishing joint stewardship of the 7 known artifact sites and prohibiting any attempt to harness their power. Commander Reyes, now Admiral Reyes, stood beside Ambassador Zilith as Earth's Chancellor, and the HFY Prime Counselor formalized the agreement. "Do you think they understand now?" Zilith asked quietly. Reyes watched as Dr. Chen presented the assembled delegates with his comprehensive report on the Guardian encounter. The faces of the politicians showed appropriate gravity, but she wondered how long the lesson would last. "Some do," she replied. "The ones who were there, who saw it with their own eyes. For the rest," she shrugged. "We've established monitoring stations at each artifact site. The first sign of tampering will trigger an alert." "And if someone tries anyway?" Zilith asked. Reyes's expression hardened slightly. "Then they'll learn the same lesson we did. When you ignore ancient warnings, you sometimes wake ancient warships. And those warships," Zilith added solemnly, "have a way of turning myths into terrifying reality." As the delegates applauded the signing, Reyes's gaze drifted to the viewport and the stars beyond. Somewhere out there, the Guardian slept, maintaining its vigilant watch over the boundary between dimensions. She hoped fervently that it would never need to wake again. But if it did, this time, humanity would not laugh at the legends. This time, they would listen.